I don't know about you, but I like music.
Dust on the highway, voices in the wind, people still talking about where we have been.
Welcome, everyone. If we see somebody there just looking at us.
Remain. Who spoke for the people, who carry the strain? Years of hard meetings, taxes on the mind. Families kept asking what they left behind. Roads full of miles, pressure in the air. Folks want straight answers, not polished repair. This county remembers, this county has eyes. Every vote stays living long after headlines. Choreo rising, hear the ground speak loud. From every back road, from every crowd. No more distance, no more borrowed lines. This land knows truth, this land knows signs. When leadership.
We don't forget what happens in our county. We don't forget the fire in Gatesville. We'll never forget how our people suffer. And so today, hi everybody, welcome back to the Corio County Scoop, where we talk about what's happening in our community, ask the questions people actually want answered, and occasionally get ourselves into trouble doing it. Today we're talking Gatesville. I'm sitting down with Leo Corona, candidate for mayor of Gatesville, and we're going to talk about the city, taxes and spending, infrastructure, businesses, growth, leadership, and what he thinks the future of Gatesville should look like. Leo knows the topics. He does not know my questions because I don't want rehearsed campaign answers. I want a conversation. But before we start, somebody has to pay my bills while I'm over here asking politicians uncomfortable questions. So when I'm not doing the Corio County Scoop, I'm with Phoenix Securitas Life and Health, helping individuals, families, and businesses with life and health insurance. So if you need insurance, come see me. If you need local news, investigations, interviews, public records, community conversations, and the occasional Facebook argument, Corio County Scoop is for you. So now, Leo Corona, welcome to the hot seat. First question. You voluntarily decided you wanted to become a politician. What's wrong with you?
Good morning, first of all, everybody out there. Well, in reality, I actually don't see the mayor's role as a politician. I see it more as an ambassador to the people. And talking about politician, with the role of the mayor here in Gatesville, it's a nonpartisan role, which means that there is no sides with political party. As you know, that nationwide, there's a political divide. And it automatically, depending on what party you belong to, it depends whether you're going to have a conversation with somebody. Locally, what matters most is the people, the core. It's going back to the basic of being a statesman.
Yeah, no, definitely, I agree. And it's interesting that you said that because I was talking to somebody else that were complaining how everything is going up in Cove City or whatever. And I said, they mentioned political parties. And I said, well, when people run for the county, for the city or for the county, they don't really run for a specific political party, depending on the specific office that they're running. So it's just, again, there's a lot of, that's what we're here also to educate people, right? So correct. I have something really cool that we're going to do. So we're going to start fast, no speeches. I'm going to give you two choices. You have 3 seconds. This is rapid fire.
Okay.
Boots or sneakers?
Boots.
Sweet tea or coffee?
That's a tough one. Okay, coffee in the morning, sweet tea in the afternoon.
Oh, dude, I like that. Barbecue or tacos?
A barbecue.
Of course, bro. Friday night football or Saturday fishing?
I would have to go with the football.
Small town or big city?
Definitely small town.
Fix the pothole or build something new?
We got to fix the pothole before we could build something on it.
Wow. Spend it or save it?
Spend it wisely if it's going to go towards good things.
Raise taxes or cut spending?
Well, that's a tough one, but it has to be in a discussion, and we have to have the context behind that one.
Well, there's no context. It's just this is rapid fire. Well, okay. Just choose one.
Well, I
Raise
would have
taxes or
to
cut spending?
save on spending.
Okay. Town hall or Facebook comments?
Town hall.
Cowboys or Texans?
My sport is a community.
Early bird or night owl?
Both.
Wow. Yeah, because some of us that are like work all day, right?
Correct.
Early birds and night, right? So here's an important question. What's your favorite place to eat in Gatesville? And don't give me the politician answer where you name 6 restaurants because you're afraid of losing votes. What's your favorite place?
Well, that's one thing I'm definitely not worried about losing the. Well, it is a concern, but I'm always humble and say what's in my mind and speak the truth. And if somebody doesn't like the truth, then that's on them. They ask, I answer. So currently, in action, the Junction 36 is where I generally eat.
Okay, so I'm gonna have to try that because usually when I go there, I eat in the Mexican restaurant over there. Not the one in the beginning of Gatesville, but the one that is a little bit, closer. I think you had to pass the Green Rooster or something. That one there. That's my favorite place. But anyway, so okay. So someone has never been to Gatesville. You get 1 sentence to sell them on this town. Go.
Well, I would encourage them to look at leocorona.net. It's a website that I founded that has everything about the community. It has a community events, community resources, jobs, and volunteer opportunities. So it's all in one spot.
But how do you convince people that never been to Gatesville to go to Gatesville?
Well, I tell them to come and talk to the people. And once they talk to the people, then they're most likely to stay.
What is something Gatesville does really well?
Tell you what, when you were talking about that fire on the downtown square, this community does well at coming together. There's all types of people that come out of the woodwork just to lend a hand. So basically, definitely that community spirit.
I totally agree, brother. I'm from Cove, but I seen it. I saw it. And not only Gatesville banded together, we were also helping in here from Cove because you guys are the seat of our county. So yeah, I'm sorry, I just get a little bit teary eyed because of what happened, and it just was not that long ago. So it's and we lost very important buildings, and at least nobody died. But
Yes.
but yeah, I
That
completely agree with you.
That was definitely the fortunate part. But Gatesville actually had another fire, but it was the opposite side of the town, the opposite side of the square that actually burnt down. So it's interesting to know that too.
Yeah, no, definitely. So what's something everybody in Gatesville knows needs fixing, but we somehow keep talking about it?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
What's something everybody in Gatesville knows needs fixing, but we somehow keep talking about it?
Well, the common concern that actually comes up every time I engage with the people and I do my walk and talks is there's a core issue that Gatesville used to be known as a meth capital for some reason or another, but residual effects from back in the day are still happening where family members are still dealing with members of with addiction to drugs. Luckily, the community is kicking in like righteous fruits, and they have little get-togethers to kind of talk about those kind of things. But aside from that, as far as people are always concerned about the road conditions and the infrastructure in general.
Okay. So what should Gatesville never change?
Well, no, that I would push back on that a little bit. The reason Gatesville needs to change, it needs to change to a positive direction, meaning that the people need to understand that they have a voice. In our home rule charter, we do what the people want us to do, not what we think should be done.
Yes, I like that. I like that a lot. So what does Gatesville need that we don't have right now?
Well,
The most
well,
important thing that you
in
said.
actuality, there was something that came up. Actually, I was walking around yesterday, and something actually came up, and I observed it. About a year and a half ago, the park parks director laid out a parks plan, and that parks plan entailed putting small little satellite parks throughout the communities. So that way, the people that don't have transportation or they need to have a park nearby, they have a little area that has city-owned property already, and all I have to do is just establish a little playground around that area. So that is something that would be nice to have for the families, especially when I knocked on doors yesterday and I seen people turn around 3 or 5 kids. Hey, if the park is around the neighborhood, you could just walk right down the street to it.
Yeah, I like that idea. So basically, kind of like New York, but smaller, just little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just little satellite places that the city already owns, and all I have to do is just manicure the lawn and put some playgrounds. And it was on the master plan for the parks, and that's something that I would like to definitely follow up on.
No, that sounds amazing because again, the problem is that we have in our cities, Gatesville and Cove too. There's nothing to do, and you guys have less people. But I mean, think about it. So, what would you tell somebody that tells you Gatesville has more prisoners than people? How you will push back on that?
Well, I don't consider it pushback. It's reality. Half of the population indicated on the map and on the census is actually part of the incarcerated population, and that is something that goes with the town, and is something that you have to develop with in mindset. Where that place in hand is businesses who want to come down here to establish when they start getting a census. Well, should I start a business? And they're going off that big 16,000 population. That's a bad way to go. So you got to let them know, hey, it's only actually 8,000. We want you to succeed, and we want you to have the actual number. So it hurts. And the fact that, that they see that big number and then they say, oh, I really can't do that. And along with that, there's a Business 360 that came down and presented a presentation that I helped the city host. And that showed everybody where the foot traffic is at here for the community. So if there is a business out there, it's still up on the website, and it's you just Google Gatesville Business 360 and it'll come up.
Oh, wow. Okay. So this is a hypothetical scenario. I give Mayor Corona 1 million, but there's a catch. You have to spend every penny making Gatesville better. Where does it go?
I would definitely split into the capital improvement plans, and that would be to relocate the power lines that are up and down Main Street to the proper location and get those sidewalks fixed, so that way people could actually have a place to walk and traverse up and down Main Street without having to tackle a utility line.
Yeah, I still, it dawns on me all the time. I don't know if you know anything about me, but I'm originally from San Juan, Puerto Rico, where we have hurricanes. Here we have what? Horrible storms, because if you don't like the weather, just wait 10 minutes and it will change, right? Correct. Why in the world we have electric lines outdoor and not underground? I mean, is it too crazy to think that, or what?
No, it's not too crazy to think that. About a year ago, I brought up to the city council about that, and the answer I received was that it's complicated. Well, during the new when they were doing the budget proposals workshop, I said, hey, is there any way that you all could start a capital improvement plan to have money set aside every year? It doesn't go anywhere, it just keeps on building up. So that way, if ever a grant comes up, there's already a capital improvement plan to get those lines relocated or put them underground. And it went in one year out the other, but that's where part of the reasons why I want to run is that you have a little bit more influence when you say things versus being behind the podium.
Exactly. Yeah, no, totally I agree. But yeah, no, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Electrical lines should be underground, especially with the crazy weather that we have here. I mean, it's either hot. We had that snowvid, as I call it, snowvid, when we had 10 days that they were frozen, everything was frozen. And a lot of people didn't have electricity. Just things that should be common sense, I guess.
Correct. And you definitely want to have that discussion with the people, because that is a possibility that it's going to cost money. But if we have a discussion with the people, and that is something that they are willing to do, as long as we're upfront about it, they're more willing to say, you know what, that is something that matters to us. I don't want my kids, trying
Mm-hmm.
to maneuver around a electrical line, or, I want to be able to run up and down Main Street and see our sites instead of looking like actually somebody made a Facebook comment that wasn't from here. And he goes, oh, you're just taking pictures of an industrial area.
Damn.
So I
That's
don't,
crazy.
I left that comment because it should sink in. That's what the perspective that people get when they see our streets.
Yes, no, I totally agree. I mean, although I'm in Cove, right? I love Gatesville. I love the area. But yeah, it's true. When you go there, a lot of that is true. So now remember what I asked you about the $1 million. Okay, I
Yes,
didn't
ma'am.
tell you where would that money come from. But now that I tell you that it's taxpayer money, does your answer change?
No, the answer actually reinforces my train of thought is
Mhm.
that I need to bring in the people and see if that's something that they're wanting to do. And if that's the highest priority list on the people's mind. I mean, that's just my take of what I observed, but that people could say, you know what, improving our water structures better or improving our streets is better. So it takes input from the people. And the home rule charter, once again, says, hey, we go the direction the people want to go.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're saying that because it seems like in a lot of places, I'm not I'm not too knowledgeable at Gatesville in that sense, but I know here in Co, a lot of us don't feel like the people that we put in office listen to us at all. It's like you do that, then they vote whatever. They don't care. And I'm glad that you're saying that because again, you represent the people, not yourself. So it seems like lots of people that enter office have some kind of hidden agenda. Now, let's move on to a little bit more serious stuff.
Okay.
You become mayor and somebody walks in asking the city for $500,000. What's the first question out of your mouth?
Well, can you put a little bit of context? Who's asking for that money?
No, it's not. No, it's just that's the question. But it's a citizen. That's the only thing. It's a citizen from Gatesville. That's the only thing
It's
that I can
asking
tell
for.
you. Five hundred
Well,
thousand dollars.
the only thing that could come to mind is either through the hot funds, if it's for tourism, that they would be asking that question because that's the only time that the city can authorize, but they're not obligated to do it. But depending if it has to do with tourism and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
they can give them a certain amount from the hot funds for that purpose for tourism. But if it's the other, also if it's a nonprofit,
Mm-hmm.
it would have to be depending on what it is. Because recently the city actually received from a lawsuit, an opioids lawsuit. They got some money, and that opioids money that they got from the lawsuit has to be spent towards something that has to do with the opioids. So there would be a chance that if it's an organization that says, hey, we're fighting opioid addiction, we would like some of that money, then yes. So
Okay.
that's the aspect
Yes.
of it.
So, what does fiscal responsibility actually means to you? Because every politician says it.
Okay, so fiscal responsibility. Uh, Let me give you a little bit of background in regards to the budget. There's a thing called balancing the budget, which every organization does. But in the city aspect, it's public budgeting. It's different. The way that public budgeting works is that you don't, public budgeting is policy. So if you say, for example, that parks are important, then you got to show me that parks are important by seeing that there's money allocated for parks. That's how you show the people. So you don't just show numbers to tell them, okay, this is what we're doing. No, you want to show the reason behind those numbers and explain to them, this is important to us and here's what we're allocating to it. But if you're saying this is important and I don't see anything on there, then that's not important to you.
Yes. So, how do you feel about communications between your constituents if you're mayor? Because here in Cove, we had an issue where we used to be able to communicate with Facebook with our city, and they just said there was misinformation, so they basically shut it down. So now we either had to go to the council meetings, which a lot of people don't that can't go because it's either 5 or 6 o'clock, or you had to email them.
That is a very good topic. I'm going to plug in my website, leocorona.org. What I have on there is different from my .net, which is community based. The .org has more like civic information on there. And on there, I have a link to a sheet that has all the times that I've ever spoke to before the city council. As a matter of fact, the very first time I ever spoke to the city council was in regards to that representation. And I feel as a citizen and a resident that I cannot communicate directly with my council members with the current system they have, which is you contact City Hall and then you give them your information and then a council member will get back to you. The issue line on that is the fact that you're contacting City Hall, you're a mediator. So there's somebody in between there. And City Hall is a city, not your representative. So with that, if there is something serious going on that you want to talk and have an issue with the city, they're going to end up, people are people. They're going to try to automatically take care of themselves and say, you know what, no, here's the answer you're looking for. But that's not why I called. I called because it says I need to call this number to get a hold of a council member.
Exactly.
So it's
and the people that work, they cannot, you can only work and work hours, then what happens to those people? The people fall through the cracks, right?
Yeah, and that is a current policy right now, which you can work with that policy. I don't have an issue with the policy. But however, others, you also have to look at it, because I mentioned this, other cities, their council members' information is on there. And the other way to do it is like, well, this is what I was told. Well, we get spammed and we get this and that. Well, there's also a way you could actually, on the website, create a link underneath the council members thing, and you could drop a comment on there and they'll get it without having their email address noted on there.
Exactly.
It's just like you put on a comment to anywhere else.
Thank you for saying that, because we don't live in the right. We don't live in the medieval times, right? There's no excuse for not having contact with your constituents.
And that would go directly, underneath there. It says contact your council member right underneath their picture, and it doesn't have to show their email address because it's a link. They type it in. And it's kind of like when you submit a comment to the city about opens records, right? It's just no different. They put a link on there directly to their inbox, and it goes directly to that council member instead of being filtered through the city hall. Now, if the city hall is there, if you have questions about the city, but what about if you have concerns about your community?
Exactly. No, more accessibility between the officers and the constituents, whatever that office might be. I completely agree with you. Again, like I said, a lot of citizens are getting tired. Another issue that a lot of us are worried in our area, because, again, although I'm from Cove and you're from Gatesville, we're from the same county, is the data centers. Can you comment on the data centers and what is your feeling about that? Or, what you heard about it? And I believe that people in Gatesville also don't want a data center.
And that is basically it's a very hot topic. With that one, it's not that I'm threatened lightly as a politician, as they say, quote unquote. It's just, it goes back to the core of my beginning statement. We're a home rule charter. And depending on what the people want, if let's say, for example, this is hypothetical. If they don't want a data center, the way to control it is they has to come up before the city council, one, for annexation. And then the second phase of it is zoning. A lot of times cities will annex and do the open hearings for both of them at the same time. For that one, I would ask the city to stagger those instead of having the annexation and the zoning being approved at the same time in parallel, is to stagger them. So that way it could allow significant time for the public to be involved in that discussion, whether they're for or against it. I know that, I'm not blind. I keep in tact with everything that's going on, but it falls back to what do our citizens need and want?
Man, I mean, seriously, the more you speak, the more, if I was in Gatesville, I'm just going to leave it there. Anyway, so the other thing is there anything Gatesville government currently spend money on that you think deserves a second look?
Well, about the second look, I would say that, again, I went before the city council when they were proposing to raise the water bill. And that actually is projected, even though it's projected all the way to 2030 to the water bill to go up. Of course, yearly they they propose it in the budget that it is going to go up, so it has to be voted on yearly. But there is a to 2030 is a projection for the water bill to go up due to the fact that prior years they kicked down the can down the road, and this is a direct quote. They kicked down the road. Now it's time to pay. Well, about 2 to 3 years ago, I brought up that same thing about, hey, we're going to focus on our water. It's going to cause effects down the road. And well, here we are. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm tooting it. But I also, when they were proposing the increase, I said, I understand why it's going up and why it's needed. But would you all please allow the people to know every step of the way when every major milestone is done? Let them know, okay, we've done this with your taxpayer money in regards to what your water rate increase. And this is how ways you could let them know. On back of our water bill, there's a little messaging board on there. Sometimes it goes blank without any messaging. Sometimes it goes, okay, we're going to have a chlorine test. We're going to go, it's important messaging. But when those things are not going on, what is it's wasted space. You can tell people, okay, this is what we've done. And it doesn't have to be numbers. It's just, we're moving right along. And just to reassure the people that it is being spent where it's being spent. Now, the city is actually allowed to transfer any funds, not that they're doing it, but they are allowed to transfer any of the funds there to other projects because there's no state law that regulates that. They're kind of working on that right now to regulate the amount that they could do that. But in this sense, I would make sure that I let the people know, hey, we're strictly keeping this money for what we said we're raising the rates for. And again, I don't know because they haven't told us. So, they put out numbers, but numbers did not mean anything to people.
Exactly. People want to be updated. People
Correct.
want to feel that you guys listen to us.
Correct.
That we chose right.
Mm-hmm.
That we just not a blip in your life, right? If you're in office. Mm-hmm. So now talking about that water, here I'm gonna ask a question, and I don't know. I know about Cove, like I said. I know Cove puts fluoride in the water. Mm-hmm. Does Gatesville do, and how do you feel about that? Because there's a lot of people that don't want fluoride in the water.
Well, don't quote me on this. Last I checked, they're not using fluoride on the water anymore. But don't quote me on that. I have to get back to you on that information.
But if they did, how do you? Let's say that they're doing it. What would you tell you?
If they're doing it, I would say it's not. The studies have showed that it's not a good idea. So I would go with that and bring it up to the people that the study has showed that it's not a good idea, and then have that discussion.
Okay, cool. Also, if resident tells you, my property taxes are already killing me, what can a mayor realistically do about that?
And I actually have had this conversation just yesterday with a gentleman.
Yes.
And he was, anywho, it's going to take you all day for me to kind of tell you everything that went on yesterday's conversation. But with that, so we got certain people that are living on a pension. I'm one of them. I'm living on a pension, my government retirement pension. Other people are just living off their Social Security. So you got houses out here that are built like mine in 1950s. Some of them were built in the 1928. So the market value is still as high as a house that was built now. So even though you're homesteaded, just like I am, if you really want to kind of argue your point to lower your taxes for your home, you have to sit in the mindset that you're selling it. Even though you're not selling it, that's the way they go. So you basically have to challenge your tax rate to the tax assessor and say, okay, this is what's wrong with my home. My windows are single pane or whatever. It's not energy efficient. I have plumbing issues. So you go out there and you depreciate your own house. And that's the only way you could actually bring your personal property tax down on this, to go down and tell them, hey, this is what's wrong. This is what's wrong. And if I were to sell it today, this is what they would have to fix. And that would not be a lie. And that way you're not get taxed on the assumption of what the tax assessor is doing. But it is a hardship to everybody.
Yes, I like that because again, there's a lot of people that are retirees. I came here with the military and we stay here, so they have limited funds, right? And so the property tax is the biggest tax that we get hit. We got the county tax, and then we have the city tax.
And don't forget the
For
school
those
tax.
of us, yeah, exactly. Those of us that are in a city and then you are part of the county, we get hit with maybe 2 or 3 things. So what I would say to people in that specific thing, if you're military, you shouldn't be paying any property taxes. If you had, I think it's 60% rating, right? 60%
Correct,
rating.
and that's also an effect here in this area. But
Mhm.
let me share a little conversation that I had with the Copper's
Mhm.
Cove city manager. Came actually to Gatesville to speak to the Exchange Club, one of the organizations that I belong to, one of the many. And he was talking about that, how, you know, with veterans, the community, they have to kind of they have to offset that because the veterans, certain, you know, if that's a disability, they get a basically either a percentage or all of their taxes,
Mhm.
property taxes take care of. So the tone that he was using kind of like took me back a little bit. So after the meeting, and I pulled him aside, I said, the way that you kind of mentioned about the veterans, you almost made it like they're a inconvenience. But he was just talking numbers. And I don't blame him. I said, I don't blame you for it because that's your numbers. You're a city manager and that is something that affects you. But I told him, you know, next time you give this speech, if you can, say, you know, that the veterans actually give more community hours so they offset what they don't pay in taxes. We're out there in the community doing things for people. We're volunteering. We're out there helping out people.
Mhm.
And all those volunteer hours are way more than any kind of property tax we would ever pay. So I told them if you could in the future, so approach it in that sense that, yes, the veterans, you know, we have to kind of cover down for what, you know, cover down for them. But at the same time, the veterans are a good community here. They've always supported us and they spend money in the community. So we pay taxes in other ways.
Exactly. We, you know, those of us that are veterans, we actually help the community. And the active members, when they love active members, children's in the schools, because what
Correct.
happens? You get paid when my kids were in school.
Mm-hmm.
They get paid more for those kids that are, you know, children of active veterans. So again, there's things that we do here as veterans
Mm-hmm.
that people take for granted. Plus,
Mm-hmm.
putting our life in line, right? So we're
Yes.
not
And
inconvenienced. In other states, they don't care about, or cities, they don't care about veterans at all, active or retired.
absolutely.
Man, well, I'm glad that you told the guy. So let's have a really fun here.
Okay.
So there's a giant pothole. Everybody complains about it. Everyone at City Hall knows about it. 6 months later, the pothole has apparently become a historic Gatesville landmark. Who's responsible?
Well, it's that one is that would fall under the city manager because he is the one that deals with the day-to-day out operations of the city. He manages the city. But there's a caveat to that. So in our home rule charter, if I may take a little bit of time to explain it, so
Yes.
the city manager is basically like the CEO of the city. The mayor is like the chairman, and the council members are the board directors, and then the people are the people that are invested in said, you know, city. So it is up to the city council to provide that direction to the city manager and give him guidance as to the priorities of the community so he can work his budget off of that and start
Mhm.
developing it off of that. But if they're not giving him that direction, then the city manager is going to take care of his priority list, which is nothing wrong if he's not being provided direction. And that's where the leadership comes in at the chairperson, is not only to communicate what the council's directions are, but to also ensure that the council has enough information to make sound decisions as to how and why they're being made. The people need to know that.
Yes. So yeah, I like that because again, now talking about all those levels, you know, the mayor, the manager, and the council, right? Here in Cove, again, I have to like compare it
That's
because
okay.
I'm not
Go
trying to
ahead.
compare. It's what I know.
No,
It's
no,
mine.
it's
You know,
okay.
that makes sense. So, do you know how much everybody gets paid over there? Because here in Copper's Cove, they don't want anybody to know the salaries of the employees. The mayor, we found out the mayor gets paid over almost $300,000
Oh wow,
in this area, which is ridiculous. And that a superintendent got the superintendent from the school got a raise and is like 150,000 for this area. Can the people see what everybody is getting paid is my question. And because I think is important, again, because who pays everything in the county, county or city at the end of everything? Who is it? The taxpayers, right?
So with civic information, and this is something I had requested before and they told me. So every council member, about every meeting, they get about $30 per meeting that they attend. The mayor gets about $300 per quarter. Now, for the city manager, the head of the city, his contract's online and it's there for viewing. So if you just go on to GatesvilleTX.com on the city manager, if you scroll down to the bottom, is his contract. On there it shows exactly what he is contracted to do and what is his role per the contract. So it's there for people to see. There's a few things behind it that's it's too lengthy to discuss here, but the main thing is that his contract is there for the people to view, and they should be looking at that. Especially when it comes to
in Gatesville, brother, because here in Code we can't see. We don't like. I have to ask a open request to find out all the employees. I'm waiting for it in the next 10 days to get how much people get paid. Because again, at the end of the day, is paid by the people, and so at least in Gatesville has that. So I gotta. And like I said, there's some better stuff that I'm noticing.
Yeah, but there's and they recently revamped their website. So I also went up and gave them kudos for that because there was a policy that was coming down from the state that they had to be ADA compliant websites and everything else. But the main thing is when you say the word transparency, right? It's not a slogan, but there's different types of transparency too. Remember I told you about the numbers, right? So the city's doing great about presenting the numbers. They're showing you the numbers. They have what the budget is. You have, numbers. They're showing you numbers. But where my role is to translate that into a summary that everyday, citizens just want to know. It's like, don't give me a figure. What's going on?
Layman's terms. Layman's terms, yeah.
Correct.
Unless you have people like me that want to go deeper into a rabbit hole.
That's fine. It's there. And that's a perfect thing. It's like, give me the numbers, Leo. Well, go to GatesvilleTX.com and go to this tab. You could download it or go to my leocorona.org and go into civic information. It's all right there. So those
I have a question. Is anybody running for the same position as you?
Yes, ma'am. I have one opponent right now. And then to everybody out there, if you're going to run for city council or mayor, it closes on Monday. So Monday at 5:00 is the last deadline to file.
Today, guys. Today. If you're going to run, it's today.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Today is the day, guys. This is for
today by 5 p.m. You need to file.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and by the way, this is my take on it. I like seeing when people are going and putting their names on the ballot. There's a few reasons why. One, if you're challenging an incumbent, it gets them out and about. If they're not being challenged, they're not going to go out and talk to people. And that is a straight fact. But if they have somebody going against them, guess what? They'll be out there and talking to the people once again, remembering what got them there in the first place.
Thank you for saying that, because I also noticed that a lot of the times that we're voting, there's nobody running against these people. And they get too comfortable. Like it happened to Commissioner Scott Weedle. And then he got voted out right before he was going to get retirement forever. So again, even if it's just running just because you're running so that person can move. Now, what would you tell people that want to run? Because it seems like it costs a lot of money to run.
Well,
unless you want you have the signatures, but then that takes forever.
Well,
right?
that's a good point you bring up. So what you're discussing is the county. The county is the one that requires the signatures to put your name on the ballot for free, or you pay a money to get on the ballot. For the city, though, all it takes is for you to meet the requirements, which is U.S. citizen, the minimum age requirement, 6 months of residency, and must be eligible to vote. Now, those are the requirements to file. However, there's also state laws. Ethics Commission, Secretary of State website has a lot of information there that is encompass of you if you're going to decide to run for the city as a city official, that you have to know your city charter. You have to know all the, basically I studied the employees manual that the city has. So I can know what is being told to the employees by the city manager in policy directions. And I studied our charter to know exactly who does what in our city. What's my role as a mayor? What's the role of a council member? What's the role of the city manager? And what's the role of the city secretary? Those are the core functions. So that way, you know where your authority lies. If you know where your authority lies, you know how to best help the people. And going back to knowing about beyond just being able to file, you could actually get elected just by the minimum requirement to file, because that's just the filing portion. But you, as an elected official, you have to know the Open Meetings Act like the back of your hand, because that is the bread and butter for a council member when they sit behind that dais, is to know the Open Meeting Act like it's second nature to them.
Wow.
And then,
I'm going to have to talk to you after we finish here, to ask you some questions, because again, it seems like the way that Gatesville is set is the same way that Copper's Cove is set, but because I came from somewhere else, and the way they run the government in Puerto Rico is completely different than here. It seems very complicated because there's so much to it. We got the federal, we got the state, we got the county. It seems very complicated for somebody that didn't grow up here. So but anyway, we're going to change.
There's a tab on myleocorona.org that has civic information, and that's stuff that I've been pushing out. So whenever I go in my walk and talks, it's like 90% community engagement and telling them what our city's about and what our role is as citizens here. And there's only 10% politics, because I have to get, they got to vote. so
we're going to move a little bit, I'm going to move into two controversial subjects.
Okay.
Because the other day in my page in the Correo County Scoop in Facebook, somebody posted a video of a black man that was complaining about how Gatesville is racist. And the Gatesville people got really angry. Like, it was really, really crazy how everybody got angry. So can you comment on that? Because again, there's some people and we have a history in the state of Texas, in our country, in different areas that specific that.
I definitely could comment on that. For those topics on Facebook, I don't generally get into those conversations. What I do is I keep an eye on it and get a sense, put a pulse of what the city's thinking through social media. Because so I put a pulse on it to see what people are thinking, what's on their minds, and what people are saying. I don't comment on it because people tend to take your comments and go off the rails with it. Because
I didn't even post it. I didn't even post it with some lady. So the lady that posted wanted question. We said, I want to talk to this guy and show him that that's not like that. But I said, I am not going to say, I'm Latina. I'm not going to say that there's never been racism in this area.
No,
we can't put it under the rug either, right?
Right. So,
but I love Gatesville, and I never felt any weird out of anything. And I'm a Latina again, but at the end of the day, doesn't mean that there's nothing happening today.
Well, I'm going to steal a quote from somebody that I recently heard. I was kind of doing a little bit of digging to see what kind of person was going to interview me. And she said, and I quote, it's important for us to know our past. We might not have the best and be proud of our past, but we have to know where we came from in order to move forward from that and beyond that, and respect what happened in the past, not in a way of glorifying bad things, but as in it happened and we got to recognize that. But at the same token, as we're moving forward, we could not, it seems like instead of moving forward a few years back, we were going the opposite direction. People wanted to have, you know, graduations by ethnicity. That was just going
No,
back.
that's
That
segregation.
that was
That's going
going back
backwards.
instead of forward, and I couldn't believe it. And
No,
this
that's
young man
backwards. That's
and this
backwards.
young man that you're referring to made also a comment on his video, and I had to kind of analyze it a little bit. But he made a comment when he was talking. He said that people with the rebel flags should replace it with the Black Lives Matter flag. Well, the thing is, now you're picking one thing for the other, and that's again going. It's kind of like a oxymoron, saying, okay, you want this, but you got to replace it with that.
I disagree with that because I don't have a
So
problem
you're just
with the
kind of like
rebel
wanting to
flag.
swap things, right? But in
Yeah,
reality, the uniting factor on this is like, no, don't. That's part of their history. Guess what? All kinds of different people served in the Confederate and the Union Army. All kinds of people because they were fighting for what they believed.
exactly.
And that was, you can't put yourself in their shoes because you were not there.
We were not
And
there, and it's very easy for us to comment.
It's very easy
But
for you to say, well, that was wrong. But that's why it's important us to actually learn the history. And the way we move forward is not to put us in different camps, but to show respect for everybody across the board and respect their opinions, freedom of speech. Like I said, he started out with, I have freedom of speech. I could say whatever I want. That's absolutely correct. And he had the freedom of speech to say whatever he wants. And that is no different when they showed up at a council meeting. You don't lose your freedom of speech to say whatever's in your mind.
Exactly.
And even if the council member feels offended, guess what? You're allowed to have that speech.
Thank you for saying that. Again, like I said, I didn't post the video. You saw the video that I'm talking about. But people generalize both sides. That's racist. Both. Doesn't matter who does it. And I don't have a problem with the rebel flag. I've been here so long. I've been 25 years in this state. I love everything about Texas, but I'm not gonna be like, and I actually have a bachelor in history, and I focus on that area. So I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, it doesn't happen, because there are people saying that doesn't happen. But anyway, let's move a little bit out of that.
Can I say something right quick on that?
Yes, of course, brother.
Every ethnicity, every race has their own people that they're just plain. I'm gonna say the word ignorant. That's every race has one. No matter what race you come from, there's somebody in your own ethnicity or background that just, you cannot change their mind no matter what. And the best thing to do is just move forward and just don't listen to that noise. And just as long as you know that the majority of the people have a kind heart, and that is Gatesville.
Exactly. And exactly. And that's why I told the lady, you're not going to talk to him. He doesn't want to talk to you.
And that's
he want to talk to me because I am an Afro-Latina. But I don't think I can even convince him because he actually put out entrenching his hatred for everybody, every white person that is like, he's not going to listen to you. He's not going to listen to me. So all we can do I say is pray for that person. That's it.
Correct. And he actually put that out, emphasis on that video. He said, this message is not for this people. It's for this people.
Exactly.
And if you're this is not for you. So guess what? That automatically tells you what you just said. He specifically said this is for one specific race.
Exactly. Yeah. So people wanted me. The other thing is that people wanted me to take it down. I said, no, I am not taking it down. I didn't put it. I am not taking down. I just had to turn off the comments because they got really ugly.
Yeah. And that's the whole problem.
People attacked me and I didn't even post it. I'm like, yeah, I'm the admin. I'm the page founder, but I'm not going to take it off because if we start banning free speech, is going to happen to you when you want to say something. So we have to be
like, there was nothing wrong with the lady's comment. It's like, let's have a conversation. What's wrong with having a conversation? It's worth, it doesn't cost you anything to have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. Let's first talk about what we have in common before we talk about our differences.
Yes. Now let's go back to something very, very controversial, worse than this, I think, because right now there's people angry about different cities in our state that are where they're building mosques all over the place, and the citizens don't feel listened, like McKinney, Frisco. Can you comment on that? Because again, It seems like the councils are forgetting who put them there, and people are angry between that and the data centers. Can you comment on that?
Well, with that, it goes back to a constitutional question: freedom of religion, freedom of speech. So if it goes back, actually, kind of ties into the same comment that gentleman was making about wanting to, get you to swap between one and the other. The way I see it is a constitutional thing of freedom of religion. We're not going to ban a Methodist church or a Baptist church. It's a freedom of religion. You cannot take that away from people. But when I deployed to Iraq, I got to speak to, our interpreter was a Muslim, and he sat down with me and said, "Hey, that is Sergeant Corona. That was back then. Now you can call me Leo, retired." He said, people, the true Muslims actually don't like the radical Muslims, because they said the religion of Muslim is a loving religion. And he sat down with me and talked to me about the Quran and everything else. And again, a conversation, right? We had a conversation. He had a conversation with me, and he says that the people, the true believers, do not have that hate in their heart. So there goes back to, again, freedom of religion. So can it be challenging courts if the citizens do decide, hey, we don't want this, and it does happen where that's banned? It can be something that can be challenged in court, because it's a constitutional freedom and liberty that we have in the United States that a lot of people have lost their lives for.
Yes.
Now,
exactly.
As far as
what about the airport thingy? Because that was another mess with the voodoo extension. First of all, I don't know why there's any kind of anything church or mosque related thing in an airport. It's actually a public funded airport. And do you know about what I'm talking about?
No, I did not catch that. But if the premise is correct, if public funds are being used, then yes, that is a different conversation to be had. As far as
they
public
were doing
funds
an
go.
extension. This is what happened. Since you don't know, they were having a extension put so that Muslims can wash their feet before they pray in the airport. Now, they said it was private funded, but then, by the way, I still need to contact them because I asked for an open request and nobody answered me. So they're investigating. What I found out from my investigation is that American Airlines is involved with this, and it seems like they put it in a certain way, so it makes them seem like it's private funded, but it didn't sound, for what I was researching on it, that it was private funded. It was, but anyway, that was a whole mess.
With that I could again, and just in the context of that conversation, again, we don't have a huge airport here, but in my take in that, so you know about the USO, right? The USO has offices inside the airports and things like that, right? Or you have little shops inside the airport, right? They rent out a little area in the airport. That's where I would say that's something that something like that would belong if that private person or organization rented a space in such type of little areas, and they did their freedom of religion in that area where it's not. That
will be different.
That's where I would have that conversation. And again, it's still facilitating, but it's facilitating where it doesn't have that patina of it's in the public space where everybody's traversing left and right.
By the way, what they were using? The parking and toll fees to pay for that. And the company that actually got the contract has a $25 million open line to do contracts. But every other thing that they built was public funded, and suddenly this was private funded with parking and toll fees. So it just seems very, very sus. But anyway, we're like at the end of, tell people why should they vote for you. Tell Gatesville.
Okay, not to go too far back, but back in what made me who I am today. I didn't start out volunteering as an adult. I actually started out volunteering when I was in high school with the ROTC and the ROTC and the California Cadet Corps. I even won an essay contest that was titled "How Do I Respect the American Flag?" and that was through the AMVETS, and they sent me to Valley Forge. And after going there to Valley Forge and seeing the history and going through a couple conferences, when I came back, my love for this country just ignited even more. It led me to joining the service. And during the service, I gained discipline and leadership skills that translated to always volunteering and always, how to say, people first, mission always type of thing. Mm-hmm. But the core of it is I have a lot of respect for about, I just can't even begin, but when I talk to somebody, that's who I'm focusing on. So that would wrap it up then.
I like that. I like that, brother. Thank you so much. And there you have it. Leo Corona, candidate for mayor of Gatesville. Leo, thank you for coming on, answering questions you didn't get ahead of time, and being willing to have a real conversation. To everyone watching, don't let me tell you what you think. Don't let Facebook tell you what to think. And don't let a campaign sign tell you what to think. Listen to the candidates. Ask questions, look at the second of the record, and make your own decision. That's what the Correal County Scoop is about. And before I let you escape, one shameless plug. I have to go back to my real job now, which is life and insurance. So thank you again, really, really, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Leo, for being here. And you guys take care.